Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right on, everybody, and welcome if you're new to the Books by Adrian author platform and our flagship show, Livestream Sunday. If this is your first time, welcome. I am your host, Adrian Santiago, and today we are doing a very special episode of Livestream Sunday with a recurring guest on our channel who this is his third appearance on our channel, and I'm really excited to get to talk to him because since his last appearance, his book has come out, and he's got a second one coming out this very month. So sit tight, everybody. We're going to get to that in just a minute. I want to remind everyone to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. There will be a live chat question and answer section in the third part of this live stream. So go ahead and leave your questions in the chat and make sure that you list them with a Q, a capital Q at the beginning so that I can find them as I'm going through the chat looking for you. Now, let's see here. As my last two live streams, there's something up between StreamYard and YouTube and the live chat. So unfortunately, I'm not able to throw the live chat onto the screen, but I will be watching on the actual feed and copying and pasting your questions. So again, make sure that they are listed with a Q so that I can easily find them. Last thing that I wanted to go over with you guys is a couple of new things on the author platform. Oh, I'm messing this up. Here we go. Is the redesign of the website. I just want everybody to head over to booksbyadrian.com and check it out. There's some new stuff over there, and I think it's looking really good. I'm really proud of the redesign, and it's all up to branding and whatnot. If you go over to my Instagram, you will find my link tree, and on my link tree, this thing wiggling at you at the top here is what I wanted to let you guys know about today, and that is the application form to be a guest on this channel. If you are on, here, let me embiggen this. If you are an author or an artist and you would like to be interviewed on our show, either here on Livestream Sunday, over on Books by Adrian podcast, or both, go ahead and click on this link. You will be taken to this form where you can fill out every question, and that's going to go straight to me, and then I will follow up with you about scheduling. Now, Season 3 of Livestream Sunday has been in the books for a long time now, but Season 4 will be scheduled using this form right here. And in between seasons, the podcast will kind of take center stage. So I will be using this form for that purpose, to find my guests for both of those shows. So make sure that you go over there and check that out. All right, you guys, I have held out for long enough. Let's see here. The guest today returns to us for his third appearance. Things are a little different this time. Like I said, his book has come out, so I can't wait to get him out here. Let's all go ahead and welcome. Hey, our Mirabal, welcome back, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. I was actually just backstage with R.K. Rowling and Stephen King, taking back a few shots of bourbon.
Nice.
Good backstage you got back there, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
My friend, I'm going to give you center stage here. Go ahead and tell the folks at home who you are, where you're from, and where they can find you.
All right. Well, I'm from the almighty island of the Dominican Republic. So any Dominicans out there, what's up? We all know that signal. I'm an author, podcaster, graphic designer. I like to think of myself as an armchair philosopher When I look in the mirror, I think I'm pretty funny. Uh, the book is called AR. Wow, I'm getting mixed up. The podcast is called AR's Tales, aka the ART podcast. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Pandora. I'm sure if you picked up a cup and a string and like aimed at the right part of the air, you can pick it up too. Then there's Allegory of the End, book 1 of the Death of Order series, out now. If you go to my Instagram, which is at Allegory of the End, you will find my link tree in the bio and everything will be there. And then as far as the company, Neotino, we right now are offering our end of summer sale. Up to 50% off any author services that's editing, book covers, you name it. We even have a special little promo that I will fully design a bookmark for you for free. We're having a giveaway right now. Just enter the giveaway, put your name in, and get yourself a free little knickknack for the Halloween season, folks. Promo is the best thing we can do.
That's awesome, man. Hey, free. If it's free, it's for me. That's what I always say.
That's what I'm saying. Free 50. That's the best price there is.
Free 50. I like it. All right, brother. So I want to dive right into it. I don't want to waste any time. Let's get started with part 1, which is the interview.
Of course. Now, quick question.
Hit me.
Oh yeah, quick question. Is this like a PG-13 podcast? Like, what's like? Can I smoke on this?
You know what? Let's test that out, and let's find out right now if we can or cannot do that on this channel.
Because I'm literally about to take.
No, it's definitely not a it's definitely not a children's channel. That's for sure. I have it marked as an adult channel. Go nuts.
All right, cool. Well, I just want to make sure because like I didn't want any guys in white suits with like the YouTube logo on their chest to come in and stop me out like fucking Fast and Furious. By the way, that new Fast and Furious movie is pretty good.
Which one is pretty good? The newest one?
F9? Yeah. Which Dude, sounds like a recipe.
Jesus, man. Like I checked out after like 5 or 6. Like I've had enough. All right, man. Let's get into it. Allegory of the End, I can't talk today, is a powerful, challenging, and entertaining read. It's the first book in the Death of Order saga. Tell the folks at home a bit about Allegory of the End and what's coming up next in the series this month with the second book.
Very awesome. So Allegory of the End, in essence, what we talked about in previous podcasts, there was a group cast where they had Tara in it and Adam Gaffin, I believe. What these first books are, which are Allegory of the End, Volume 1, Iris of Mercy, Part 1, then Allegory of the End, Volume 2, and then Iris of Mercy, Season 2, is that they are all an introduction to not just the world at large, but what is order. Order, in a sense, here is a larger theme. It's not just the death of order and they're going, or maybe it is a more artistic type of thing, but order in a sense here is a larger idea that will be defined by the end of these 4 books. And I just right now nabbed down the narrative of it, of how it's actually going to be told. So it's going to be such a mind fuck for the end of book 4. Honestly, I almost want to just write that and get right into book 5. But gotta have your peas before you have the pork chop with the fried whatever on top of it. So
what?
That's based. Look, listen, I don't know. I thought pork chop, and I was thinking of what's good on the pork chop. And then I thought fried stuff. I'm like, hey, I like fried stuff. So
yeah, that thread got away from you there.
But for the most part, Allegory of the End is about 2 kids, Jin and Seiko. At its heart, it's a story about miscommunication. These 2 kids met when they were young. They went through very traumatic situations, which, as you know, when you go through trauma with people, that's basically it. Your mind melded, right? So
the bond there, man.
Yeah,
Bonded
that bond eventually gets corrupted, basically, by different point of views in how to deal with the revelations that they overcame when they were younger, basically. You have one person that's very charismatic, but is very dogmatic and pragmatic on their ideas of what things should be done. And you have a person that's a little more hippie, a little more open-minded. but also with the open mindedness comes just a little bit less gung ho, not as charismatic, not as great of a leader as Zako, who is the other side of the story here. It's Zako and Jid, and basically their ongoings. Now, in the book two, the story takes over from Jid and Zako's best friends, who are Haas and Alice, who have their own little arc in completely different than Jid and Zako's. And by the time you get both half of the stories from all four of these people, it builds the introduction of what the story will progress on from book five and onward, which to me is like the real cool shit of the book.
Right on, man. Dude, I number one, I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait to read it because it sounds right up my alley. And the way that I mean, I was sharing, I'll share it again here, sharing the cover. There is something very, very simple and yet very, very profound about this cover, man. Like, it's well done because with just a black and white image, you have captured a whole lot of story right there, a whole lot of idea, you know? I love this cover. Who did the cover for you?
Well, actually, it's in-house. That's actually part of the thing that Neotino did.
Nice.
So what I like the most about this cover is that it's hard to see, but from just a simple type like a look-see, it looks like a person falling through space with stars in the background. In actuality, those are ones and zeros, and the entire thing is actually a numberscape. And
Gotcha.
the people falling through it, again, it's kind of hard to see, but like the people
I see. Yeah. Okay,
are
I'll make it bigger.
pixelated until it becomes. You see that line right above Allegory of the End. The person becomes fluid. They become whole.
Yeah.
That is actually our representation of what it is to go through the black hole. So you see, they're basically in simulated, and then through the black hole, they become whole. That in itself speaks a lot to what the story is about. Not even just this book, but the series.
Now you mentioned Neotino. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast. But now that we've got everybody here in the chat, let's go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about Neotino, what you guys do over there, and what it is that you're trying to achieve together.
So I started the whole author services part of Neotino 100% inspired by just my ongoings of getting my book out. I mean, I told you in my podcast, there was a good $350 that just went into the air when I was getting my book first done. I actually spent that money, and that all actually went on covers, and none of those covers I used. So it was just so much ambiguity of what to actually do when you get into this industry, because there's nobody holding your hands for as many, YouTube channels and everything that there's out there. It's a whole different beast of when you actually get down and do it yourself, and you're in the mud, and
Yeah, no kidding.
you're at war. It's completely different than watching a movie. So.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the trenches, it's really hard to like not only know where you're going, but to even know where you're at and get like a good sense of like where you're actually at as far as your book goes. I can't tell you the amount of times I got to a certain part and was like, all right, bet book is coming out next week, and then I was like in reality 5 months away from final product. And that happened multiple times. And then it just happened one time, and it was a 5-month delay. It was boom, 5-month delay, boom, 4-month delay, boom, 3-month delay, boom, another 4-month delay. It was just staggered. So
Yeah.
we are the babysitters. We are the handholders. We will walk you. We'll put you through it. And I even understand the whole thing about payment. It's not easy to just shell out $1,500 for a good editor. That's why we have payment plans. We have ways in order that people can set up something, and we'll work with you. We have cover artists that span different styles. I mean, last 5 covers that I did, none of the genres matched. We were actually kind of like laughing about it during the podcast. Like, even though I'm sci-fi, no one that is on Neotino's yet is sci-fi other than me.
Yeah.
Everyone is everyone else. We have, people doing music-based fantasy romances. We have people doing comedy anthologies based around Lady Gaga's dog. I love it. And not only that, as an artist, I love it because it's never the same shit. It's never just, all right, we're going to take, I want a fantasy story, and I want a guy in the front holding a sword, and I want a girl next to him back to back. Never the same. It's always some new shit, always a new way for me to go about it. And the most fun part about it is that a lot of people that come to me don't even really know what they want. So a lot of the job is just consulting, just kind of like
Yeah.
building an idea of what they want.
Yeah, being a guide, so to speak. Some folks just don't even know what exactly it is that they want out of all this, when they set out to write a book. We
Definitely.
talked about it a little bit on the podcast. I'll repeat it here that part of the relaunch of my brand and my website and everything is we're launching a little community where, first time writers especially can find some support because that first draft can be really really hard to finish for first timers. It can be really intimidating. We talked about how you don't know what you don't know until you sit down to do it and you realize, oh, I don't know how to do this. You think that it's just, oh, I'm going to write a book, so I'm going to write it. But there's so much more involved in so many different facets to that job. So it's really that community is based squarely on welcoming in these first time writers who have never finished a first draft before and helping them, get to that huge, monumental goal of finishing a first draft. And it sounds like to me like when I'm done with them having finished their first draft and editing their first draft, I can send them over your way because then you're going to be able to help them with the finances of paying for editors and with the plan of getting the book cover done and all that stuff. It sounds like we would be handing the baton over, to you guys, and you guys would take those folks onto the next part of the journey of putting out a first book and helping them through that. So
Yeah,
I,
definitely. And
I
we'll take
want
them
to
happily.
encourage, absolutely you will. And I encourage everybody in the chat, if you have any questions about this particular service that Neotino is providing and the way that you guys are putting out books, if anybody in the chat has questions, please mark them with a Q. I would love to shoot Mr. Mirabal some questions in the third part of this live stream. How many books do you have planned for the series? I think I remember you telling me it was somewhere around 16. Is that right?
It is 16, and that's not including the graphic novels. And I honestly do have a couple short films that are all tied in the same idea.
You're out of your mind. That's a
Well,
lot,
actually,
bro.
it's all in my mind. Gonna pink. I'm telling you, you need to start picking
Nice.
drums up.
Very nice. Okay, so 16 books. We talked about your average word count. They're pretty hefty books, between 50 and 80,000 words for these first two.
Yep.
Um, you have a plan, if I remember correctly, of 2 per year. How are you now that that you've been putting out some? You put out your first one, your second one's coming out this month. You think you're going to be able to stick to that schedule from here on out?
Yeah, actually. Um, the main thing that I'm learning is like staggering. So when I was writing my book, there was a lot of as far as like the art goes that I could have had been delegating as I was doing it. So a lot of the technical parts of the book I already have done. I already have my ISBN. I already have my Library of Congress number. Actually, I already have all the graphics I'm going to put in the book. I already have a cover ready to go, even though I'm only a couple chapters in. Everything as far as like what I would need at the end is already done in the beginning, which is something that I've learned as making the book. So as far as the actual go and the actual making the book goes, only thing is actually writing, which isn't the only thing. It's probably one of the hardest things. I just sit down and make the motherfucker go. But basically, that's just the meat. It's just that part of it. Even the editing, I like when I get to like a good draft in the chapter, I'll just send that part over to my editor and just get that ball rolling. Oh, wait a minute. I can't hear you. I don't know if that's on your end or my end.
Oh, that's my bad. I was muted while you were talking. I forgot to unmute. From concept to publish, how long did Allegory of the End take?
Oh, buddy. Um, Man, it's almost there were so many phases of going through that book. So the first time I even wrote the book, the first idea of it when I got to chapter 18 was a completely different vision that ended up happening because I wrote 18 chapters of the book and then I lost that computer. Not just the file, not just the thing, that entire laptop, I lost it. And didn't at the time have good saving principles at all. So that was just 18. That was, I don't even know, like what, 70,000 words that just went into dust, just went
Yeah.
into the nether. And in the kind of like, I don't even know what, it's not even called depression. It's just kind of like, fuck it. Right. And I was like, all right, well, I guess writing a book's not for me. In that time of like, redeciding that I still want to like do this, I rewrote the story and added in like, I mean, like most of like what I would consider like the actual plot. Before it was like so derived of like Marvel superhero type of things. Like I think like one of the main themes that I try to write in the book was the whole idea of like, is killing right if it's quote unquote justified, which
Right.
at the time of me writing it I thought was nuanced and like a crazy idea, but then like you get a little bit. Everybody's talking about that.
Yeah.
Every story with any level of power, gain or loss in any degree, is talking about exactly that. So I kind of decided to step back a little bit, make the story a little bit more my own, and when from that point, I would say it took about 2 or 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
What's your process like? Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Oh no, I'm a rigorous plotter.
Mm.
I have everything laminated, lamped down. I mean, I know what's gonna happen in book 5, like I'm writing it tomorrow,
Yeah.
like to the T, every little thing.
As complex as your sci-fi seems to be, I would imagine that yeah, you would have to plan everything out. There's got to be some diligence to the rules and the science of it all. Especially when you're dealing with stuff like going through black holes and whatnot. Like it seems like you
Oh,
really did your research.
oh yeah, and like I have a degree uh, in engineering that I honestly use pretty liberally through like in making Allegory of the End. Like the all the technology spoken within, isn't like invented in the sense that I did like all the math and actually made it, but in the sense that I sat around with other engineers and asked my professors to see if this would be physically, you know, capable and possible. And I tried my best anyway to make it as on the go as possible and on the up.
Right on. How do you tackle story structure, character arc, pacing, that sort of thing? Is it integrated into your outlining? Is it something you get into in editing? What's that like for you? Structure.
Well, usually when it comes to structure, I usually base it on like how I want to tell a story, and for the most part, trying to avert expectation. So I'll sit down and, for example, one of like the lingering plots in the story is like the whole idea of clone life. Is it okay to treat clone life as just like auxiliary workers, or are they their own type of thing that are their own level of like credit and civil rights and XYZ? As that as that plot kind of like develops and like understand the world at large, I immediately realized how much emphasis. Basically, it's like you develop a technology that's like cool, and then you kind of like sit back logically and think about how that affects
Hmm.
a society.
Yeah.
So the whole thing at a whole is a dystopian. Dystopian is usually with the mindset of like trying to control a populace. So what in here is it that these people are trying to control a populace with? One of the answers I had for that is population, and their answer for population was straight. They reverse the way that we make people. So they made it so everyone is infertile, and you have to go and get a pill in order to become pregnant. So you have to go to a parental eligibility center. You have to pass psych test. You got to have a financial record. You and your spouse have to be good and like want a baby, and for them to allow you to have a baby. And then everything is like that. And the way that like it has affects society is obviously significant. And even that, the amount of like little short stories that I didn't even get to play with in Allegory of the End, like a society that doesn't care about that type of stuff means that sex is like even crazier than it is now. So that means that like 14-year-olds could be getting into the most insane sexual could be getting into the most insane sexual positions and whatever the heck ever, and there's no repercussion. There's no STDs because they have a relay that's just organizing their body, nanobots that are just always cleaning out their body and doing what they can, and then on top of that, there's no fear of pregnancy. So it's like what? Again, that's not even something I even played around with in the story. But like that's just another thing that like is right there the moment I feel like it. It's just the idea of sex. So as far as how I
Yeah.
plot stories is that I just have the characters that I want. I know the world that's in, and I just logically let everything play out.
Yeah. Allow the elements to permeate through the rest of the world and change it, and allow the story to come out of that. I like it. I like it.
It's like
Right
when you're
on.
cooking. It's like, all right, I know I want some wild grains. I know I want some chicken. I know I want some asparagus, and you just let everything ruminate together with the right type of
Yeah.
spices.
I was gonna ask what phase of the next book's development you're in. It's coming out this month, the 23rd,
Yep, October 24th.
24th. What's the title of this second book again?
Iris of Mercy, Season 1, and it will be out on Kindle Vella.
Right on. Are you working on any books outside of the Death of Order series?
Neil Tino is actually on the works, very starting stages still, of a sci-fi anthology that plans to go across all genres. Like the main thing I've been asking people is like, listen, if you have a story that has to do with, if there's an alien for 3 seconds, I'm considering it a sci-fi. Like whatever deviation you have of the genre, I'm interested in it. I want romance sci-fi, comedy sci-fi, I want horror sci-fi, just everything that there is related to some weird alien space shit that I'm into.
Nice. And they can contact you through the website, right? Neotino.net. Neotino.net.
Yep. Anyway, just you can contact me through the email support.neotino@gmail.com. I'm accepting everything through that. I also just have the Instagram at Allegory of the End. I also have Twitter, official Neotino. I have Reddit, official Neotino as well. You Google my
Nice.
name or you Google Neotino, and any links that pop up, you can contact me through it.
Awesome. Nice. I might kick you a story for that anthology, man. That sounds cool. That sounds cool.
I
Let's
want it.
see.
Send it over.
Now, I was also going to ask if you had any plans of adapting your work into other mediums, movies, TV, video games, whatever. You did mention you have like some movie stuff lined up for your books, right? Like what's going on there?
I do. So how it is right now is I have a couple stories that I want to turn into films. So I have a couple short stories that I want to turn into short films. My bad. I'm getting ready to take a trip up to Boston. Um, I have a short story that we're turning into a film. It's about two gods essentially that kind of meet each other in an ethos type of situation.
Okay.
And as they continue and progress with one another, they themselves don't know that what's going on. So they're gods, but they themselves don't know what they're doing here, the same way that we don't. So they start questioning a lot of their reality and a lot of their nature, and then eventually it just becomes in this whole crazy thing. I'm actually really excited for it, and as if anyone is interested in this type of medium in any way, shape, or form, like if you're thinking about making something and you're not sure if you want to make a movie or a book or anything like that, when you're making something that's going to be, filmed, you have to consider like location, how like budget for everything. This one I know for a fact can be done because there is it's basically just two characters, and the location and the scenes are just, it can be anywhere because what they are is they're omnipotent gods, so they can be around anywhere. They can be around a beach, they can be in grass or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then there's also a graphic novel coming out soon, hopefully 2023, called Banshee Cannot Die, about a space pirate. And that one I'm very excited about. That one's another one that's fully played out and actually comes together
turn right on
with
Dodge Street,
the rest of
then turn right.
the book series with the Death of Order by, I believe, book 12.
Man, it still blows my mind that you have that far in advance planned out. That's crazy. Right on. All right. So, what have you done differently with this second release from your first one? Like, what lesson did you learn on your first one that you did differently on the second one?
Well, it was kind of what I said earlier about just making sure that everything that I took a long time with in the beginning was more front loaded going in this time. So as far as the covers go, as far as the editing goes, as far as everything goes, I made sure I had all that as lined up as I could, so that when I had the writing and everything down and everything done, I can just go ahead and execute without too much delay on my end.
Right on. Right on, right on. Let's see here. What's been the most surprising feedback from readers, critique partners, beta readers? What was the feedback that surprised you?
I would say probably just people commenting on my age, weirdly enough. I don't know why. It seems kind of like a weird answer, but definitely a lot of people just commenting on like the age. It's like, oh, this was like your first book. It's like a X amount of age that you're at. It's like, oh, well, that's pretty in itself pretty interesting. And I don't know. I just caught that one was a little bit odd. I always thought writing was kind of like a emotional thing. Everyone has their point of view. But as far as reviews go, I'm actually just really happy that people, for the most part, just vibed with it the way that I wanted it to be vibed with. They laughed at the things that I wanted to be funny, the things that were dramatic, scenes that were meant to pull at an emotional string did so.
Nice. We're going to switch gears here. We're going to go into our short topic today. Let's pull this up. So we're just talking about writing a sci-fi series in general. Yours is a long, epic sci-fi series. You have described your first book as being for people who enjoyed maybe Ready Player One and things like that, where it's a sci-fi action adventure. And but you've also pointed out that you kind of set it up like the Marvel series, where every book is its own thing, its own genre, its own kind of flavor. So my question then is, with it being a sci-fi series and with sci-fi being so malleable and having so many flavors that you can play with, how do you keep the tone of your series consistent throughout? How do you make sure that it feels like like one solid series rather than, say, an anthology?
That's interesting. I think what keeps it consistent is that the story is just progressing and moving on with the same elements as before. So, Allegory of the End is written vastly different than Iris of Mercy. I mean, just an example. Allegory of the End is written first person point of view present.
Okay.
Iris of Mercy is third person narrative past tense. So you playing around with just like different narrative tones, different writing styles completely. But what puts it all together is the simple fact that you're in the same world. The story is progressing. Same characters, Right when the very first chapter of Iris of Mercy, there is mention of Jid and Zako and the events that happened in the book before. So there is always that tail-ended type of almost reintroduction. But at the same time, it's not that you would be completely lost if you were just to start your adventure with Iris of Mercy and then go backwards.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm starting to get an image in my head of the best example that comes to mind is Breaking Bad, the television show, and then the spin-off Better Call Saul, where Breaking Bad was, a crime drama, and Better Call Saul is a legal drama, which sounds the same, but it's not. A courtroom drama, so to speak. And Better Call Saul having much more comedic elements, and yet, the tone of both of those series is very, very much on point with each other. But you're getting two very different flavors, two very different kinds of stories, with two very different leading men. And I feel like that's probably what your series is going to feel like once I dive into the first and second book and see that the differences there. Because as you said, that the characters set up in the first book continue on to the second, but it's even how you wrote it, the past tense third person versus the present tense first person, that alone is a very, very big difference. It changes everything. It changes how people digest that story.
Oh yeah, I almost wish I honestly, writing in this narrative style makes me want to go back and rewrite Allegory of the End as a third person narrative. Can't lie to you.
Yeah, I definitely prefer to write in a third person. I've been trying to like force myself to write first person more just because I don't like doing it, so I feel like I should. But yeah, third person narrative, it just always feels more, especially when you're doing something like sci-fi or fantasy where you want it to feel kind of epic. Having that past tense really creates this air of history to it. This happened, and when it happened, this is what happened. You know what I mean? There's a vibe there that you're trying to tap into.
Yeah, definitely. And
Um,
especially with no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say about like it's just it's so different. Not only is it like vastly different, but I find it almost harder because I'm so used to the first person point of view that when I go and I switch off to the narrative, I'll always mess up with my tenses or like it takes me a while to reorganize and get back onto the narrative thing without too much of a too much issue.
Yeah, I every time I sit down to write, I edit what I wrote the day before, and that's my number one mistake that I'll find is that I switch tense, halfway through a paragraph or whatever, and I'm like, why did I do that? And you got to like rewrite the whole thing. It's so annoying. Um,
Yeah, and of
with
course
you,
because like you're in your author mind, you keep on reading it, but you're reading it as it should be, not as you wrote it. So you're like, yeah, there's no
yeah,
problem here, no problem here, no
that's
problem
why
here.
you have to. That's why you have to read it out loud. Or another helpful tip somebody gave me was to change the font. Just changing the font alone like gives you like fresh eyes a little bit. So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that's a good idea.
anything to like alter your perception of what you've written so that you can read it for the first time. That's what's gonna help you to catch all those things that you do so often that you miss. You just gloss over them. Having written out your
Yeah.
entire story, your entire series, at least planned it out, 16 books. Um, I wonder if if after it's all done, you intend to maybe adapt it into a series or something like that, because it's such a long form of storytelling, and there's something quintessentially sci-fi about a 16 book long series. You know what I mean? Like that, very few genres go that long. So yeah, what are your plans for the series after
General
it's
Hospital.
done and your legacy is done? Yeah. What are your plans for the
Man,
series
when the
after
legacy is
it's
done,
done?
if we're being completely honest, by the time I knock out 16 books, uh, I'll either
Yeah,
have
you'll
another,
be like 55 by that point, right?
yeah, well, about. If I can be completely honest, if we're talking about complete pipe dream thing, the way I ended the book is actually like again, total pipe dream here thing, but it's actually meant to be as like a video game afterwards.
Nice, a video
Like I
game,
bet.
huh?
Yeah, like I basically set it up in the sense that when the full 16 books are out, like the world that's within is like a playable game. Like everything, like all the things that would be classes, have like
Yeah.
their thing, and everything that would be a race, everything that would, like, the quintessential like game elements are all set up after 16 books.
Right on. Well, since you're on the move, man, we're starting to get a little bit of lag from you, and I'm worried that we're going to lose you at some point. So I'm going to jump into the questions from the chat so that we can get those out of the way just in case, okay? Let me kick
Yeah,
this
good.
up
I'm
here.
actually in better internet now. Just
Right
so you
on.
know.
All right, so first up, we have the lovely Helen Garraway, who is asking, you know what? I'm going to copy it while that thing is animating on the screen, and I'm going to throw the question up here. All right, so Helen Garraway asks, most indie authors are on a limited budget. If they have to choose, where would you tell them to focus their spending?
Now, the
I
artist
know
in
I
me
know
would
where I would
say,
tthe
the artist in me would say cover, because it really, I mean, that's what's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the covers, as far as like getting people to look at your book goes. Editing is also really crucial as well. But again, even that whole thing, I mean, I know people that have spent 5,000 and ended up having to still need a couple more proofreads and line edits after they had finished their services. And I know others that spent 750 and got everything the world has to offer and more. So it really depends on the editing service that you go with, but covers more than most are usually kind of like the cooler covers are usually, if you want a custom font, a custom everything, you know, that's specifically why I started doing it for Neotino, because that type of stuff really ramps up. And it's not book marketing, without a doubt.
Marketing in
As
general?
far as, yeah, as far as spending goes, I mean, that is really what's going to push and make the difference in your book. I mean, and I'm not just talking about marketing as like, you know, promoting a book on Instagram, or I mean, promoting a post on Instagram, or promoting a tweet on Twitter. But I mean, really going out of like the box and like spending some like good money on marketing. I know a friend that dropped, you know, I almost don't want to say it, but well over $5,000 on marketing, which I thought was insane when I first heard it. But the returns are insane as well. I cannot lie. He's been doing
I'll bet they
very
speak for
well
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does speak for itself. That's a person that, I mean, big ups. You know, I don't want to drop his name, so yeah, but definitely that person is doing very well.
Yeah.
And they
Right
dropped
on.
quite a lot of money on marketing. So
How much, well, not how much, don't tell us how much, but what was your experience with the editing process? You go through an editor. What was that like for you?
finding one was a process, and I went through a lot of different trials. There was even one editor that I was working with, and then at some point they were just like, "Oh, I'm too busy with like other projects," and it's like, how is that even possible? I mean, we're already here, right? And then like I had to go and find like another editor at last moment. It was always a back and forth. But when I found the editor that I have, Christine Bode, huge ups to her. Not only did I find a good editor, but I found like a genuine confidant in this industry. I mean, her tips and expertise, and not just the writing game, but just everything that comes with this industry has been more than valuable. Just insane. She really did make the difference for the launch that Allegory of the End had. I didn't even have my head in marketing at all.
Yeah, it's definitely like a whole other gear that you have to like shift into as an author, because it's like, especially if you're doing everything yourself, you're an indie author, you have like 19 jobs. Putting out a book is not one job, it's a whole bunch. Crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Helen continues to ask, what is the most mind-blowing thing you've learned from your self-publishing journey?
I don't know if this is mind blowing, but I wanted to release my book on like a certain day. I believe it was like the 12th or something like that. And
Okay.
in my head, how you do that is that you go on Amazon and you upload it on the 11th, right? That's how you turn in homework.
Oh
So,
no.
so I'm over here, you know, like, you know, dun, 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 happy out of my life, thinking I'm about to drop my book. Little did I know, Amazon actually has a 3 to 5 day uploading waiting type of period, if you want to call it that, grace period,
Yeah,
where
grace.
your
Yeah.
where your book actually has to be uploaded. So I went all, you know, I was basically delayed a good week, and there's nothing more soul crushing than that. I'm
Yeah,
sure
to
as
like to
anyone would know
think your
that.
book is coming out on the 12th, and telling everybody your book is coming out on the 12th, and then having to be like, man, here's what happened.
Yeah, and especially if you're like, you know, a self-published author, because you say that sentence at least 4 or 5 times throughout a year. Oh no, the book's done. Oh no, no, it's done. Believe me, it's coming out in like 2 weeks. Don't even worry about it. Boom,
Yeah.
delay. They're
I
like, oh
stopped telling
no,
people when it's coming out. It's just there's
exactly. Exactly.
It'll be out. It'll be out when it's out. When it's out, I'll put it in your hands and you'll know. Like, stop asking me.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I mean it's almost abusive because it's like you go and you get your heart all amped up and you're like yes, and then you go ahead and you upload it and you're like oh well that's cool too I guess whatever. You immediately
All
flip
right.
whatever tables around you.
Adam Stevenson asks, at what
That's one
point
hell of a
did
name.
you know? Yeah, right. He's going to be a guest coming up soon. At what point did you know it was not a one book idea, but a series? And how did you deal with that when it happened?
Immediately. I never
From
had
the,
an
it was
intention.
always a series. It was always a
Yeah,
series.
I had no intentions of being an author when I was in engineering school at all. This idea was just something that came to me when I would hang out with my friends, and just it'd be just almost like a conversation piece. Like we'd be hanging out and chilling as kids in college do. Just one of the conversations that I would bring up would be like, all right, so this is the ongoing saga of whatever working title I want. What you know what I mean? Sci-fi working title AR Mirabal, right? Um, and I would just go through it and I would just add to it. And at first, it was just something that I would talk about with them. Then I would think about it by myself. Then I would think about it when I went to sleep and when I woke up and when I was in class. And then I would doodle about it when I was bored. It just infested every crevice of my mind until it got to that point that I was like, all right, I need to start writing it down. But by the time I started writing it down, I was already mentally at like book 7.
Man, to start knowing that it's going to be that many books sounds intimidating to me because for me, at least for this novel series, um, it started with a prologue that I thought was a short story at first. I'm writing a short story, and by the time I'm done with the short story, I realize, oh no, this is the prologue to a novel. And then I start writing the novel, and then I realize, oh, this is the first in a trilogy, and and it just kept growing like that. Like now I've got like short story anthologies planned for in between the books. It's like it's bananas, bro. How quickly it grows. This universe that you create in your brain just kind of keeps expanding, and you're like, oh man, I got to tell people about this new part of the universe that I forgot about.
Oh man, I actually have a couple of things. I actually do also want to do a couple of anthology collections about stories from in that universe,
Yeah.
and that it's actually not including the 16 either. They're gonna have to be just separate little works.
All right. Final question from our chat today.
Final
Not
question.
I might need him to elaborate on this one. I don't know if I
No,
know
just drop
exactly
it.
what he means, but here it comes. Hang on.
Yeah,
All right. So how do
drop
you
it.
fight the writing fear? I wonder if he means like writer's block or imposter syndrome. Um, Fear of writing, is that a thing for you? Any kind of roadblocks that come up along your path? How do you handle them?
Weirdly enough, I actually do like the way he worded it because, like, to me, what it is, it's like I actually almost will get a fear of writing when I haven't written in a couple days. So I'll
Mm,
have like that thing that, like, when you're on the way home, you're excited to write. You're like, oh yeah, I got some good shit to knock out today. And then you get home and the laptop's right there. What do? Oh, I need some coffee. Okay. Well, I need some snacks. I mean, Jesus. Well, I mean, I should shower. I did have a long day out. Well, I should hit the gym before they close. Well, I do need to have dinner. Well, I do need to feed the dogs. And by the end of the day, you're just done. And like you could call that life, but to me that's just like fear. Because it's like you're looking at it. It's like you could do it right there. It's right there. You just open up a laptop and you start writing. But it's like you just like let everything else like get in the way. And as far as like how I fight the writer's fear, the fear of writing, I don't know. It's diagnosing where it comes from. Like basically what I think is that like I was happy with Allegory of the End was, but I also knew what it took to get Allegory of the End done. So I feel like every time I sit down, there's always like that crazy overarching mountain of like pressure of knowing what's coming. Where it's like
yeah.
I'm in chapter 3, but I know damn well what's gonna take to get to chapter 13, and it's not light by any means,
Yeah.
and just all the different things that are gonna come with it. So I can't even call it fear. It's more just anxiety, writing anxiety. And the only way to get over it is just simply just to know that it exists and be like, all right, well, just sit down and get over it.
Yeah, power through it,
Put
right?
put fingers to keyboard. That's the only thing, really.
Right on.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder event.
Now, I told you that was our last question from our chat, but I lied. This is the last question. You said your friend spent a lot of money on marketing. What did they spend it on? The challenge for indie authors is knowing where to market. So, did he go to like a marketing agency that like covered as much as possible and targeted stuff for him? Or when you say he spent that much money on marketing, was he still doing the marketing himself? What?
I believe it was a little bit of both, but I do know the majority of the money actually came from getting paid reviews. Like, I believe Kirkus is about 650. Like, to get a Kirkus review. I believe he got 2 of those. He got, a lot of like really heavy duty reading platforms have paid reviewers that you can go. Like, I think New York Times has one. There's a couple different things. So he just basically got the smorgasbord of those and just dropped money on all that. While also just spending a lot on, I know he spent I think he spent 1,000 something on a couple of trailers, like book trailers. He went to like an actual like person that makes like
Like an
trailers.
animator?
And,
yeah.
he went to like an actual animator and like got a trailer done. And again, very professionally made trailer. I can't lie to him. He even, I believe he even went as far as getting his own score done for the book.
Nice.
Like he's getting his own music composed. I'm like, he really went to the furthest heights of it.
That's something that I've toyed with myself and dreamt about, both with a graphic novel that I worked on before this and for this novel as well. Like I kind of want to put like a free CD in each one that you can like pop in and listen to while you're reading. I like give it your own soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there is Wattpad has an affiliate app called Tap that you can mess around and you can actually put MP3 files inside of the within the text and intercut. So you can make the text enlarge or get smaller depending on like the type of emotion you're trying to convey. You can add rain effects and actually have droplets going down as you have like a MP3 file of like rain hitting tile or cement in the background. It's actually really cool. I'm surprised Kindle hasn't moved into that yet, because they're getting into everything. I mean, my God, they're not letting anybody have money, huh?
Yeah,
They
no
saw
kidding.
Wattpad making some money over there. They were like, "Hey, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
We'll be there next week. Don't even worry about it."
Senor Mirabal, we have reached the end of our program for today. Why don't you go ahead and take center stage one more time? Tell the folks at home one last time when your book is coming out, where they can get it, and what's coming up next for you.
I am A.R. Mirabal, author, podcast host, graphic engineer. You know what? I'll stick with it. Graphic engineer, folks. What the hell do you want? I'll engineer the shit out of some graphics. Allegory of the End, book 1 in the Death of Order series, is out right now. You can get it on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited. If you have that, you can read it for free. Hardcover is actually coming out next week, so definitely watch out for that. I'm actually really excited. I'm gonna order a couple copies myself. I cannot lie to you. All signed copies as well, and bookmarks and all these cool little things and knickknacks available for purchase on the neotino.net website. AR's Tales, aka the ART podcast. Have a way too much fun recording that every week. Every Monday, I have a nice little interview, sit down with a fellow peer, and we just talk about the craft and really everything. Adrian can definitely vouch for it. There's just one hell of a conversation every time. And Adrian's actually been on there more than a couple times, I believe. Twice, I believe, right? Or once. We're gonna go with twice. We're gonna go with twice because I like that number better. And then there is the Neotino Author Service itself. 50% off, end of summer sale going on right now, folks. Right now. That's editing. That's cover designs. That is, we'll even write the back of the book blurb for you. 40 beans. What's up? Just
Nice.
everything that it is. We offer payment plans, everything. And also, actually, one little more. Allegory of the End is on the Book of the Month contest for all authors right now. Third place. They can still use more votes. Come on, folks. You know the deal.
I love it. Well done, sir. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a true professional. I love it. Folks at home, thank you so much for joining us. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for your questions and for participating. If you want more from AR Mirabal, be back on Thursday at 11 a.m. right here for the video version of the podcast that he and I pre-recorded today. The audio versions are going to be available that same morning on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to the website, my website, his website, all the websites. Go to my link tree. If you want to be a guest on this channel, fill out the form and I will get back to you with scheduling stuff. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and get us situated here for our outro. AR, thank you so much again for being here, and everybody at home. Fingers on keyboards, as Mr. Kent Sean always says. Butts in seats, right? Let's go. All right, everybody. Right on.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.